Welcome to This Team is Killing Us, a podcast about what the Carolina Panthers do to good people. She is Lauren Brownlow. I am Dimitri Ravanis. And Lauren, what is killing me today is while I am glad we got to watch some competitive downs being played, I don't know why we are A, writing reaction pieces, and B, setting lines for another preseason game. Great for Shedeur Sanders. Great for Bryce, great for the receivers that looked good. But this was a preseason game where everybody was probably going at like 70-75% speed.
Yeah, yes and no, weirdly. I finally got a chance to sit down and watch at least the first quarter, which was about as far as I was going to go with this bad boy, considering the Browns apparently were playing no starters, which I was like, okay, whatever.
So remember last week I told you I thought Shedeur playing did not bode well for what they thought of his chances to be the starting quarterback in the season. I didn't realize until the night of the game he was literally the only healthy quarterback on the roster. Like, it says nothing about his chances to start. He was literally their option.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's true. But I mean, at least the defense had some names on it that I'd at least heard before and knew who they were. So, yeah. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing. And I'm obviously like more concerned about how the defense would. And honestly, the Panthers defense could go against any string. And yes. I just want to see. So the fact that at least for a little while, the starters did some okay things. I was like, okay, I'm a little bit, so I felt pretty good. But yeah, if you're betting on preseason football, I just feel like you're ill and need help.
Agreed, 100%. For the record, the Texans are a 1.5-point favorite this week. So there you go. You mentioned the defense could play against anybody right now, and you would be interested because of where this defense is. I thought there were moments where, again, I remind myself they're going at 70-75% speed. I think it was Christian Roseboom who had, it looked like he had a clear path to Shedeur, even had a hand on Shedeur, and Shedeur just slipped out. Like, I have to believe that was part of a dude not going full speed, because there's no way an NFL player should miss that tackle. But I want to put that to the side. I want to talk about the highlight of the defense apparently throughout camp, and we got to see it with our own two eyes this week.
Heard rumblings.
Yeah, and Cory Thornton, you brought him up last week that the rumblings are there that this guy could make the roster. Do you buy the one game in, it's over, this guy has a roster spot?
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I will say that because, let's be honest, not even talking about Panthers season, we've all seen Hard Knocks enough times.
Right.
To know that, the dude that we're like, wow, that guy really balled out. And then all of a sudden he's getting handed his playbook in a few weeks. And you're like, oh, man, I really like that guy. Yeah. So, you never know. But I will say that, the track record this staff has shown in terms of, finding these undrafted guys at positions of need and them really coming through and sometimes even becoming starters. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with him, but I really liked a lot of what I saw. It was so funny. I hadn't even opened our notes yet. The notes you sent me. And I wrote his name down a whole bunch because I was all excited. And then I opened the notes and I was like, yay, I feel the same way. And again, we don't know. Who knows what's going to happen, but at the same time, I think you just like to see not just a guy covering. And I think what I heard them say in the broadcast too is that maybe, he doesn't necessarily have the speed you want to see at corner, but the way he plays the position, you can tell there's a nastiness there, an edge, and they love his technique as well. And you certainly love to hear those things after some of the secondary play we've witnessed in the last couple of years.
The Cory Thornton, obviously, a couple of big plays. The pass breakup was huge. The hit that looked like it came right out of WrestleMania with the Browns receiver trying to go over the top of him, and he slammed him down. 4 solo tackles on the day. I am very excited for what Thornton can be. You and I talk about this a lot. We talked about it last week, in fact, when it came to the linebackers. I'm excited for what he can be. I'm not excited that, again, we're talking about a snap or two could be the difference between cut or, if not starter, at least heavily in the rotation for defensive backs.
I'm just trying. Honestly, this is just me a little bit trying not to get. I hear you, and you're not wrong. This is me a little bit trying not to get my hopes up and trying not to project a guy like JalenCoker onto my image of him at a position of such need. And the way Coker was able to help this team out last year in terms of like providing another reliable option at receiver when this team didn't have a ton of weapons, it was like, wow, like that came out of nowhere. And so you would love to see something like that for this secondary that certainly has a similar need.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm cautiously excited, and that's a step up for me.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this defense, we saw it. You and I have been saying this even with the additions they made, and I think we saw it on display against the Browns. Like, they need capable bodies everywhere right now, right?
Yes.
Like, they need depth at every position. I've seen a lot of buzz about linebacker in particular, but I don't think that excuses anywhere else. I believe Cory Thornton is going to make the team, and I want to play a clip from you or for you. This actually came out before the game, and I really love this clip because whenever Xavier Legette is talking about anything, first of all, it's a fun, is he saying what I really think he's saying challenge. However, also, I want you to hear the admiration like XL clearly has for what he has seen out of Cory Thornton in camp.
Since he got here, Cory Thornton, 3-1, yeah, he been doing his thing. Every time I go up against him, I tell him, I like what you doing. Like, sometimes he'll try to be like, that ain't my bag here. I'm like, man, you good. We playing ball, man. As long as you going hard, you gonna make me go. You gonna make me better. So he one of the main guys that been sticking out to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, what can you add? I mean, like, I think that you have seen this a lot from both sides of the ball, calling out each other for making the team better, and you hope that that is all real. Again, another one of those things that, like, all of the reaction is not just it's super good, it's super bad. It is, we have seen this before, that a good series or two from the starters doesn't translate over. So I think we all kind of have to get very comfortable with the idea that we still don't really know anything yet.
Right. I mean, of course, because like not only are you playing the Browns and not only is it preseason, but it's also like the Browns' second and third string,
right?
Which I don't know what that means, and that's why like any defensive stuff, you just want to see them like stop or disrupt any opposing offense, right? Because we saw them do it. We saw them let some of the worst offenses imaginable just go through them like Swiss cheese last year. So, I'm not going to complain when they're able to kind of like make some game-changing plays or whatever, but there's only so much stock we can put into it. Unrelated somewhat, but I enjoyed Xavier Legette's fight, except stop punching people with helmets. Stop it.
Agreed. That's only going to end up with you having a broken hand at some point.
I know Steve Smith graded his moves out and really liked what he saw a little bit, and he would know. I love Smitty, but he would know. But it was still like I was surprised he didn't say that. It always drives me insane when I see that because he's like punching at his head too, and I'm like, Xavier, no.
Yeah.
I don't mind. It's like a competitive, whether it's like with the within the team too. I think you see this. It's not like they're fighting each other, thank God. But like there's a playful competitiveness that and I like to see that. I think it's good, and it's not something I feel like we saw or heard at least a whole lot about in the last couple of years. So
and also if a guy, especially a guy like XL, who as much as we like him, he's got to take a step forward this year. He
can't do that in a game, like,
right? You want him to, if he's got to do that, you want him to do it in the first preseason game, because I thought some of his reaction, his contriteness, I get, like, it felt genuine that he, whether or not he's actually sorry for the fight, he certainly is sorry that he cost himself reps on the field in this game, and it's good that he recognizes that.
I agree, and that was what they said on the broadcast as well, and I agree. Like, that's the thing, is like that's where it's disappointing. Is like, and I think Smitty liked it a little more than Jake Delhomme, but I think Jake Delhomme understood like the value of a guy like XL getting those kinds of reps, and like, you're only in for a couple series, dude. Like, I know, go try to kick that guy's ass in the post game or whatever. You don't have to do it right now.
Well, let's move over to the wide receivers. This happened on Monday. Lauren, did you see a reporter, someone who ostensibly has been covering the Panthers throughout the offseason, asked Dave Canales about JalenCoker, and he didn't ask, hey, did you like what you saw out there? Where does he slot?
Scored a touchdown, sure.
Yep. He asked him, is JalenCoker going to make the roster? And I get it. Like, at the end of the day, he was an undrafted free agent, and he could come back to earth a little bit this year. But I do want to remind you that JalenCoker, like, there are numbers that back up that this is a dumb question. This is not just people critiquing one another. He had a 64.5% completion rate, which was second on the team, meaning he catches balls that he's targeted for. Second on the team only to Adam Thielen, who missed 7 games last year. Of all of the wide receivers, he had the highest success rate. And success rate is, can you gain at least 40% of the yards you need on first down, 50% on second down, and can you convert on third down? He had the highest on the team of all the receivers. This guy is clearly a weapon. This guy is clearly somebody that has earned the coach's trust and Bryce's trust. Like, this isn't a question we need to answer, right?
I didn't think so. And, I don't know who asked it. So
I could not hear who asked it.
I hope I don't sound or look dumb by saying this. But, I mean, unless there's something we don't know going on behind the scenes, like, please, throwing that caveat out there, because we're not at camp every day or whatever. But unless there's something we don't know, I mean, sometimes we do hear our fellow media members at press conferences. Right. I think at least once a press conference, you go, what?
Right.
Like, is that this person's first game, or like, why?
I want to play Dave's reaction for you because it's very telling. Like, Dave didn't make fun of the guy or anything, but his reaction, I think, the way he answered the question is very telling.
Like, we're going to play the best guys, and the guys that we can count on, the guys that make plays, the guys that make the catch. I had Tracy Smith's dad, Tater Smith. Tater would always say, a receiver is good is when you throw it to him, they catch it. And Jalen has really showed to be one of the more reliable guys that we have, whether it's contested or he's, open in space. He plays strong to the ball.
I'm going to ask you about a guy making the roster, and you are going to answer, or I guess you're going to ask me about a guy making the roster, and I'm going to answer you about playing time. Like, that's pretty definitive without looking at the guy saying, of course JalenCoker is going to make this roster.
I don't know if that was intentional shade by Dave Canales to be like, this really wise guy once said, a receiver's really good that when you throw them the ball, they catch it. I was like, yeah, well, it's literally.
Well, to be fair, Lauren, over the last couple of years of the Carolina Panthers, that has not always been the case with guys we were told were good receivers.
Fair. But yeah, I mean, I just think, like, I wonder if that was a little unintentional shade, or maybe it was intended shade back at the guy of like, yeah, he catches the football when we throw it to him. We like that. I mean, that's kind of my reaction to whether or not, like, he would make I don't even know why we're having this conversation about him versus some of the other people that we're sort of debating at this point.
Yeah, this is how a positivity bully calls you an asshole.
Or dumbass, maybe.
Right. I will say there is questions like this, and the question about, those last 2 receiving spots on the roster. This is why they won't go away, right? Like, I think Coker's a lock. So there are 4 locks. There are probably 6 spots, and there are 3 guys competing for those 6 spots. Jimmy Horn Jr., David Moore, Hunter Renfrow. 2 of them are going to make the roster. 1 is not. I don't think Coker was ever in that consideration, but the fact that you are at a place where you have 7 guys that sound like, not being there every day, sound like you could justify putting on the roster, I think that stories are going to be written, think pieces are going to be written about why every guy, aside from T-Mac and XL, could be the odd man out.
Yeah, for sure. Jimmy Horn Jr., I don't want to say he's a lock, but he certainly feels a lot more secure than... Yeah, maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, I'm with you. To me, Jimmy Horn Jr., of any of the 3, Hunter Renfrow and David Moore and Jimmy Horn Jr., Horn is the one that makes sense. And I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense to carry Renfrow or Moore, but in my eyes, I know we're saying because he was a 7th round pick, Horn, you have to view as on the cut line, but like, how? How would you justify keeping Moore and Renfrow and cutting Horn?
Did he return punts at Colorado or kickoffs?
He returned both at Colorado.
no offense to ETN, if he does that in a game,
yeah,
I might lose what's left of my Panthers fan sanity and end up like starting a petition online to ask this particular staff to please stop drafting running backs and thank you. Please.
Yes.
Like I'm just saying, like literally, he dropped a punt, and I'm sitting there like freaking out. Although Steve Smith gave some interesting context with that about like maybe if you don't trust a blocker and you're kind of like looking up like, I don't know, I don't want to get hit. But I'm sorry, I've seen too much of this as a Panthers fan just in my life, because I had to sit through Britton Burson for way too long, and it's like, please just catch the ball. Don't let the ball touch you. And I can't. Stop.
I find it curious, and look, I'll stand by what I said. Like I don't think you can read a ton into the preseason, but I did find it weird that
doing the preseason at least. That's fine.
I mean, I did find it strange that Etienne got the first crack at returning over Horn.
I wanted to see Horn do it. Yeah,
and it's because it seems like you draft Horn to do that, right? Like you draft Etienne because you think he can be part of the running back rotation.
Exactly.
Like, why would you not save whatever mileage you're going to put on him for, carries as opposed to
like in what way can you make Horn the most dangerous? I would assume it's giving him the ball in theory. Exactly. I was going to say an open field in theory. I don't know. Your blocks don't always set up that way, but in theory, like just giving him a chance to make a play for you. No disrespect intended towards ETN, but I certainly would be a lot more scared of Jimmy than I would.
Yeah, I mean, like I am rooting for every Panthers player to have success. I think you and I agree.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to put Horn in that position because like that's how you maximize Horn's value. I think if Etienne is healthy, Etienne should be challenging Rico Dowdle by season's end for the number 2 running back spot on this team. That's just my view. If he is fully healthy.
We'll see.
Oh, all right. So don't forget that the Sports Podcast Festival, we are inside of 2 weeks now before the show happens. Actually, just over a week away from the show. It is our friends at Split Zone Duo, as well as Big Screen Sports, joining Ovius and Giglio on stage at the Rialto, August 23rd. SPF25. That is the discount code to get buy one, get one half off tickets. SPF25. It is a big night. Lauren is going to be part of Big Screen Sports presentation on the night. Ovius and Giglio, I just found out, are going to be on stage with Mike Archer for their segment of the time. Split Zone Duo always bring some real entertainment to what it is they do. OG Light will be on tap, courtesy of the folks at Auditory FX. We will have food from the Butcher's Market. This is the way to kick off a brand new college football season. It happens August 23rd at the Rialto. And if you want to make the weekend a party, join us August 22nd as well. We are at Bond Brothers East Side in Cary with the guys from Split Zone Duo. It is Night Zero presented by Extra Points. You can spend 2 nights talking football with all of your favorite podcasts. Get your tickets for Sports Podcast Festival at etix.com or therialto.com, and you will just pay at the door for Night Zero, and you'll get a free pint of OG Light when you come to that event. All right, Lauren, last week we delved into the analysts' intrigue, their interest, their optimism for BryceYoung. This week, I want to dive into the other side of this. Mike Sando, who writes about the NFL for The Athletic, did his quarterback tiers based on what it is that he has been told by various people inside the NFL, scouts, GMs, coaches, etc. And there were 5 different tiers, and Bryce was on the border of tier 3 and 4. In tier 3, but very nearly down into tier 4. And I want to read you a couple of the quotes because this is a 180 from what we heard last week. One exec says, don't be fooled by his performance when everyone was out of it. A defensive coordinator said, I just don't know if there's enough talent really to become a 2, meaning tier 2 in Sando's rankings. If I am being honest, look, Bryce, I think, is going to be a see it to believe it guy. I texted you after that first throw to Teteroa McMillan that it looked like an, oh no, Bryce, what are you doing throw? And then you remember, oh yeah, Teteroa McMillan gives him a different kind of weapon where that is a smart throw now. But I think for all of us, it's going to be a see it to believe it kind of thing until we feel comfortable 100% of the time with BryceYoung.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I will say for the most part, like, there were a few quarterbacks that made me raise my eyebrows that were above him. But at the same time, like, it was just a few games, really, in the scheme of things that made, so I think it's fair to have him where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was still like the third biggest jump by a quarterback. And I think that it was fair to say, like, I don't know if he has enough talent. I think that's a fair thing to guess about. I don't like the exec that was like, oh, it was down the stretch and like people had quit. I don't really think that was the case in a lot of games they played. Like, sorry, you're telling me the Eagles weren't trying, like, and the Chiefs weren't trying. I don't know. That one kind of rang false for me. Like, I'm sure there were some games where teams weren't trying as hard later, but like, I don't think it was the majority of them. And it wasn't like it started like in week like 16 or something. Like, it started before that.
Yeah, and the other part too, again, going back to the idea that he's going to be a you got to see it to believe it kind of thing. I think that a lot of the optimism, whether it is from analysts or from people like you and I, just fans talking about what could be this season, it does require faith in that the talent has been upgraded on defense, that Teteroa McMillan is going to make a real difference, that Xavier Legette is going to take a step forward. ESPN ranked all 32 NFL rosters for future strength. Like, how sustainable is this team's success? And the Panthers ranked 30th overall out of 32. They include a ranking of the team overall and the team without the quarterback. So without Bryce, they are at number 32. I
was going to say, I was like, it can't be better.
Yeah. And I think that tells you that there is at least some faith that Bryce is a capable NFL quarterback. Does that mean Pro Bowl kind of guy? No, we're not there yet. And I don't think we have to argue that we are there yet. I think that the first 19 games of his career were so bad that if you did not come in with any kind of faith, it makes total sense. You have to catch up to where people like me are.
Well, and you mentioned like he's a see it to believe it type guy. And let's be real. Part of the reason for that is because of his physical stature. Like,
of course.
Part of the reason for that is a QB that he was above on the list, which that was an eyebrow raiser for me, just having seen this guy play his entire career, college and pro, was Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Where, and Russell has a little more thickness to him and sturdiness to him, and always has than Bryce ever has. Bryce legitimately, physically has the stature of a teenage boy, and so it's difficult to imagine that guy going out there and doing NFL elite QB types of things. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw more glimpses of that potential lies in there, at least for him to be a franchise quarterback. And by the way, you could do worse than tier 3. Like, a lot of the tier 3s that you go, yeah, that's fine. You're like, okay.
There were a couple in the tier 3s that were above him. Like, I think Anthony Richardson was above him. And it's like,
people love
ridiculous.
Him. Yeah. You want to talk about physical stature. It's the other way around. It's like, well, at what point do you believe your eyeballs?
Right. Exactly. I watched a great breakdown of Bryce, the overall guy. It was a YouTube account called Gridiron. I don't know a better way to tell you to look for it other than Gridiron BryceYoung. The kid that put it together is from Charlotte. He is a lifelong Panthers fan, but he sort of broke down, just looking at film, you can kind of see where the mental health kicks in for Bryce, where the kid that had all that confidence that knows sometimes what goes wrong are things you can't control and you can't harp on that. Like, he really broke down, you can see the game where that starts clicking again. And it's not as soon as he comes back in against the Saints. Right. Yeah. I want to wrap up. Dan Orlovsky, ranked. He listed quarterback top 10s in 7 different categories. Bryce only shows up on one of them. The categories are arm strength, ball placement, mechanics, decision-making, pocket presence, rushing ability, and second reaction. Lauren, if I asked you to guess which one Bryce was in, which one would you guess?
I think I would have said that's tough. Because maybe I don't know about ball placement, but I usually like his ball placement, to be honest with you.
Okay. Is that where you're going? Ball placement?
Well, I know the answer, but I was surprised. That was the only one I was surprised, but then he didn't also could have maybe made the list, but I also understand like there's a ton of elite quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
Always put it on the money. So
he ranked number 9 in pocket presence, and I want to tell you why.
That was interesting.
Okay, I want to tell you why I'm very optimistic about that. Because if this time last year, would you have, of all of those categories, is pocket presence the one you ever would have thought about? I think it speaks to the development of his confidence in himself in this league. And I think that if that confidence keeps growing, you are going to see him rise in areas like ball placement, like mechanics, like second reaction. Like, to me, of all of the places where if your quarterback is only on one of these lists, that for BryceYoung specifically, you are very optimistic. I think pocket presence is the one because it is such a 180 from last year.
Oh, for sure. And, I'm honestly, that was a little surprising to see. It was jarring almost to see him in there, not because I don't think that he has improved a ton there, but also because, I mean, literally just go watch the season opener and then tell someone that guy made the top 10 of quarterbacks in pocket presence. They'd all go, what?
Right.
How? So yeah, I mean, I think like it speaks a lot to his, but I think like that's the interesting thing about Bryce to me, right? Is that I don't think he has to be the best at any of those things or even one of the best at any of those things to be good at most of them.
No, I agree. I agree. And in fact, it is why I think whatever you're seeing right now in the preseason, like, don't get too high, don't get too low, because, if you're Dave Canales, how much right now do you want Rico Dowdle and Chuba running as often as you're going to in the regular season? And that is a big part of what opens the field up for Bryce. I don't think you are seeing things exactly the way they're going to look in the regular season right now.
No, for sure. And I know even the way they're calling plays and whatnot isn't going to be the same. And, when the first series was a 3-and-out, I was like, Dimitri didn't warn me. This is upsetting, but it's fine. But I was like, and of course, like it worked out fine because then they get a nice long touchdown drive. Am I satisfied with that playing time for him? Absolutely. But like, yeah, I mean, I still knew you're not seeing like the best plays that they could possibly call, obviously, in those moments. Like, you're not seeing them like at certain points, I'm like, okay, shotgun, they're passing. Okay, cool, whatever. All right, he's under center. We're handing it off to Chuba. Great. I mean, I know if I can predict it, even a second team defense can predict it a little bit. But at the same time, like, it was still, once that touchdown drive got going, it was nice to see. But it's not going to look exactly like you said. It's not. But they still, I think, mixed up the pass and run well on the touchdown drive. I was happy with it.
You got to see Bryce do his traffic directing thing to buy time to find the opening. No, I was happy with it too. And I wonder, when they played the Texans this week, I think the third game is against the Steelers, if I remember right. How much of, like, take Bryce out of it. How much of all of these guys is it realistic to expect to see? Because like XL is a really good example. XL needs game speed reps to understand what his role in the offense is, with Bryce, with Tetaroa on the other side. But at the same time, like, I don't need the guy that we're counting on to be our number 2 receiver. I don't need that guy taking more than a couple of series in the preseason. I don't know what the right answer is. We've talked about this a lot. But I think game 2 is the one where you're going to see them get the most playing time.
I would hope so. And honestly, like, I don't know if there's going to be any sort of a punishment for Xavier, maybe a fine or something.
Yeah.
But if I'm Dave,
a dude like that, when there's so many competitions right now, a dude like that who is his spot is set. This is not like a major violation. Don't you kind of expect that's taken care of in practice or in the locker room?
Maybe the punishment should be, I mean, I don't, Dave Canales won't do this, I'm sure, but that's what I was going to say. Maybe the punishment should be that he has to play the entire second preseason.
I think we go complete like bizarro Ron Rivera, Dave Gettleman, and his punishment is he has to wear a tie on the plane.
But no, I mean, like, I do think one thing I did like about that ejection as well, by the way, is that it was like, it looked like it was during a downfield blocking situation.
Yeah.
So I was like, good for you getting nasty blocking for your running back. We love to see it. But again, your hands are important to us, Xavier. Please treat them like the valuable asset that they are,
right?
Especially to you and your pocketbook. But you know,
speaking of your heads are valuable to us, and we will wrap here. Do you think there was a small? And look, Xavier comes off as the ultimate team guy all the time when it comes to the Panthers, right? But do you think there was a part of him in the locker room watching the ball hit Teteroa McMillan in the numbers and him still drop it, feeling like, see, it's tough your first year. Everybody leave me alone.
Maybe, or maybe he was like, I don't want this to be contagious. I'm staying away from him. No, because I did have that moment when that happened. I was like, my guy, please.
Yeah.
I can't do this again. I love you. I love you and Xavier both. I cannot do this again. And thankfully, like, for the most part, I don't think we saw anything that's like super alarm. What did Steve Smith call it? The way he termed it, I think, was so good. And by the way, I need more of him in my life in terms of like talking me through these Panthers games, because he's always going to be honest. Like, he's always going to be honest.
Doesn't he do all of the NFL Network's international games? Like, we need to find a way to get him a more regular, unless maybe he just doesn't want it. We need to find a way to get him a more regular spot calling games. He's very good.
I love that. And I love what he said about Teteroa, that he's like very like Hawaii, like California chill. And like sometimes he just really, and you're like, you know, sometimes on the field, like you have to have that like heightened sense of urgency. Yeah. And what was the most successful play they ran for Teteroa? It was the go route, which I've said, I'm like, I don't give a crap if all you run for him is go route. But that was a play where he was supposed to be somewhere and like be alert, I'm assuming, to a degree. And he was like, oh, the football? And it's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I mean, look, to a certain extent, and I'm not trying to denigrate Noah Fafita, nor am I trying to raise BryceYoung to something that he's not. But there's clearly a difference in timing between those two quarterbacks, right?
Well, and I liked that Teteroa looked at him right away and like pointed at him. Yeah. I think that was him saying like, you did everything right. That was my bad. Like, so I appreciate, you know, you see plenty of wide receivers through the years certainly get all grouchy and whatever about, oh, why didn't you know, whatever. But I don't think that's the case here. He's like, my bad. I'll be better. So,
yeah. So how much are we putting on the Texans Panthers preseason game?
Oh my God. What?